Have you ever wondered why some people never have to chase love, yet they always seem to have someone chasing them? Have you noticed that the people who beg for attention are often forgotten, while the ones who stay calm, mysterious, and emotionally strong become unforgettable? This is not luck. It is not beauty alone. It is not money alone. It is a hidden law of human nature. Most people try to become loved by giving more, speaking more, explaining more, and sacrificing more. But the more they do this, the less they are valued. The world does not reward desperation. It rewards strength. If you understand this one truth, you will never need to force someone to stay in your life again. Today, you will discover what truly makes someone emotionally attached to you. This is not about manipulation for short-term pleasure. It is about understanding the psychology that quietly controls attraction, respect, and desire. Those who ignore these rules spend their lives chasing people who never choose them. Those who master them become the person others fear losing. Machiavelli understood something that many still refuse to accept. People rarely value what is freely available. They protect what feels rare. They respect what they cannot easily control. They become emotionally invested in what forces them to earn its presence. This does not mean becoming cruel. It means becoming valuable. There is a huge difference. Most people destroy attraction before it even has a chance to grow. They reply instantly every time. They cancel their own plans. They make the other person the center of their entire world. They believe this proves love. In reality, it often proves dependence. Dependence creates pressure. Pressure kills curiosity. And when curiosity disappears, attraction slowly follows. Think about the beginning of almost every relationship. Both people are interested, but neither knows everything about the other. There is excitement because there is discovery. Every conversation reveals something new. Every meeting creates another question. The mystery keeps the mind engaged. The imagination fills the empty spaces. But then one person decides that total availability is the safest path. They reveal every thought. They share every feeling immediately. They remove every challenge. Suddenly, there is nothing left to discover. Human nature is strange. We often appreciate what requires effort far more than what arrives without resistance. A person who earns something feels ownership. A person who receives everything without effort often becomes careless. This pattern appears in friendships, careers, business, and especially in relationships. Many people think emotional attachment comes from giving someone everything they ask for. The opposite is often closer to the truth. Attachment grows when someone invests their own time, energy, emotions, and attention. Every investment creates a reason to care more deeply. The more someone works to understand you, the more valuable you become in their own mind. Imagine two different situations. In the first, someone constantly asks for attention. They send message after message without receiving replies. They apologize for things that were never their fault. They worry every time the other person becomes quiet. Their entire emotional state depends on another person's mood. At first, this may create sympathy, but sympathy is not attraction. Eventually, it becomes exhausting. Now imagine the second person. They are warm but calm. They enjoy conversations, but never beg for them. They have their own ambitions, hobbies, friendships, and goals. If someone disappears for a while, they continue living their life without panic. When they return, this person speaks naturally, without anger or desperation. Which person feels stronger? Which person appears more valuable? The answer is obvious. Strength creates safety. Desperation creates uncertainty. Most people confuse emotional intensity with emotional value. They believe loving harder will make them more important. But emotional control often carries much greater power than emotional intensity. This is where many people become confused. They hear advice about being mysterious and think they should become cold. They stop expressing kindness. They ignore messages on purpose. They play childish games. This rarely works for long because fake distance is easy to detect. Real confidence never needs performance. The strongest person in any relationship is not the one who pretends not to care. It is the one who genuinely has a complete life outside the relationship. They are not pretending to be busy. They are busy. They are not pretending to have purpose. They actually have purpose. Their confidence comes from reality, not acting. Purpose changes everything. A person with meaningful goals cannot spend every hour worrying about someone's opinion. Their attention is divided between growth, learning, health, work, family, and relationships. Because they respect their own time, other people naturally begin respecting it too. This creates a powerful psychological effect. When someone knows your happiness does not depend entirely on them, they begin wondering what makes your life so full. Curiosity returns. Respect grows quietly. Attraction often follows respect far more than it follows constant affection. Many people are terrified of silence. They believe every pause means rejection. Every delayed reply becomes proof that something is wrong. So they rush to fix problems that never existed. They fill every silence with nervous words. Ironically, these unnecessary words often create the very distance they fear. Silence is not always your enemy. Sometimes silence allows emotions to breathe. Constant communication can become emotional noise. Space allows appreciation to develop. Imagine hearing your favorite song every minute of every day. Eventually, even the greatest music becomes background sound. Scarcity protects value. This does not mean disappearing for weeks. It means respecting natural rhythm. Healthy relationships breathe. They move closer, then slightly apart, then closer again. Trying to eliminate every moment of distance usually destroys emotional balance. People often reveal their deepest fears without realizing it. They ask questions that sound innocent but secretly beg for reassurance. Do you still like me? Are you angry? Did I do something wrong? Why did you not answer? Who were you talking to? At first, these questions may seem harmless, but repeated constantly, they communicate one message. I do not trust my own value. Confidence rarely announces itself. It quietly appears in behavior. Confident people do not constantly demand proof that they matter. They assume they deserve respect until proven otherwise. This mindset changes every interaction. Machiavelli understood that perception shapes reality. If you constantly present yourself as someone afraid of being abandoned, people begin seeing you through that fear. If you present yourself as someone who values themselves, people adjust their behavior accordingly. The image you repeatedly create becomes the identity others remember. There is another mistake almost everyone makes. They believe saying yes to everything will make them more lovable. They never disagree. They never set boundaries. They never protect their own needs. They become whatever the other person wants. But attraction cannot survive where individuality disappears. A person without boundaries slowly becomes invisible. Their opinions lose weight because they change them whenever necessary. Their promises lose meaning because they never protect their own standards. They become predictable in the worst possible way. They always accept less than they deserve. Boundaries are not walls. They are evidence of self-respect. They quietly communicate that your time matters, your peace matters, and your values matter. Ironically, people often trust those with healthy boundaries more than those who constantly sacrifice themselves. Think about leaders throughout history. Whether loved or hated, strong leaders understood one principle. Respect comes before loyalty. People rarely stay loyal to someone they do not respect. In personal relationships, this principle remains surprisingly true. Respect is the foundation that allows deeper emotions to grow. This is why becoming emotionally addicted to someone has very little to do with tricks or clever lines. It begins with becoming a person whose presence improves life instead of consuming it. When someone associates you with calm instead of chaos, confidence instead of fear, purpose instead of neediness, they naturally begin feeling drawn toward you. Your energy becomes different. Conversations become lighter because they are not filled with hidden demands. Time together becomes enjoyable because it is chosen, not forced. The relationship feels free instead of heavy. Freedom is often far more attractive than pressure. Most people never experience this because they focus on controlling others instead of mastering themselves. They analyze every message. They search for secret meanings behind every word. They become detectives instead of becoming valuable individuals. They forget the only person they truly control is themselves. That is where real influence begins. Not in changing another person's mind, but in changing the kind of person they experience when they are around you. Once that transformation begins, attraction no longer depends on chasing. It begins growing naturally, quietly, and often without a single word being spoken. But this is only the first layer of the game. There is a deeper psychological force that makes people think about you even when you are not present, and it has nothing to do with beauty, luck, or endless attention. In the next part, we will uncover that hidden force, and why almost everyone unknowingly destroys it before it has the chance to work. The greatest mistake people make is believing that attraction is created only when two people are together. In reality, emotional attachment often grows when they are apart. The mind has a strange habit. It keeps returning to what feels unfinished. It keeps thinking about what cannot be fully explained. It keeps remembering the person who left an emotional mark instead of an emotional burden. Most people never allow this process to happen. They answer every question immediately. They explain every feeling before it is even asked. They remove every moment of uncertainty because they are afraid uncertainty will create distance. But controlled mystery does not create distance. It creates curiosity. Curiosity keeps the mind awake. A curious mind keeps returning to the same person again and again. This does not mean hiding your personality. It means understanding that not every part of you needs to be revealed on the first day. Every meaningful relationship is a journey of discovery. If every page of the story is given away at once, there is little reason to continue reading. Think about people who leave a lasting impression. They are rarely the loudest person in the room. They rarely speak endlessly about themselves. Instead, they know how to listen. They know how to observe. They reveal enough to build trust, yet they leave room for imagination. Human imagination is often stronger than reality. Once someone begins imagining your value, they become emotionally involved in their own thoughts. People remember how they feel more than what they hear. They may forget the exact words you spoke, but they rarely forget the emotional atmosphere you created. If every interaction with you feels peaceful, confident, and positive, your absence begins to feel noticeable. They do not miss your words first. They miss your presence. Many people believe that being unforgettable means constantly trying to impress others. They show expensive things. They seek attention. They try to appear perfect. But perfection often creates distance. Authentic confidence creates connection. Someone who accepts their strengths without constantly proving them appears far more secure than someone who endlessly demands admiration. Machiavelli understood that power is strongest when it does not need to announce itself. The same principle applies to personal attraction. The person who constantly says, "Look at me," usually has the least confidence. The person who quietly lives with purpose naturally attracts attention without asking for it. This is why emotional independence is so attractive. Independence tells the world that your happiness has many sources. It does not depend on one person's approval. You enjoy relationships, but you are not imprisoned by them. You appreciate love, but you do not lose yourself inside it. Ironically, this mindset often creates deeper love than constant pursuit ever could. When someone knows you will survive without them, they begin recognizing that your presence is a choice, not a necessity. Choice always feels more valuable than dependence. Nobody wants to feel responsible for another person's entire emotional world. That responsibility eventually becomes exhausting. There is another hidden law that many people ignore. People become attached to those who make them feel capable, not those who make them feel guilty. Some relationships survive through emotional pressure. Every disagreement becomes a threat. Every mistake becomes a reason for blame. Every conversation feels like walking through a battlefield. These relationships create fear, not attachment. Strong people create a different atmosphere. They correct problems calmly. They communicate directly. They do not collect old arguments like weapons waiting to be used. They solve today's problem today, instead of carrying yesterday into tomorrow. Peace is rare. Anything rare becomes valuable. Imagine meeting someone after a difficult week. Instead of creating more stress, they bring calm. Instead of demanding constant reassurance, they offer confidence. Instead of judging every mistake, they encourage growth. Your mind naturally begins connecting that person with relief. Relief becomes comfort. Comfort becomes trust. Trust slowly becomes emotional attachment. This process cannot be rushed. That is another lesson most people refuse to learn. Modern life encourages speed. Instant messages, instant answers, instant attraction, instant commitment. But genuine emotional bonds grow slowly because trust grows slowly. Every meaningful relationship is built through repeated experiences, not dramatic moments. Some people become impatient after only a few weeks. They ask where the relationship is going. They demand certainty before trust has had time to develop. Their fear pushes faster than reality can follow. The relationship begins carrying unnecessary pressure before it has built a strong foundation. Confidence understands timing. It knows that forcing fruit to grow faster only destroys it. Every important connection needs space to mature naturally. There is another powerful truth hidden beneath attraction. People do not become emotionally attached because you solve every problem for them. They become attached because you inspire the best version of themselves. Think carefully about this. If someone feels stronger after spending time with you, they will want more of your presence. If they feel weaker, more anxious, or constantly criticized, they will slowly associate you with emotional pain. Human beings naturally move toward what gives them energy and away from what drains it. Your words shape emotional memory. Compliments matter, but sincere respect matters even more. Encouragement matters, but belief matters even more. When someone feels accepted without feeling controlled, they relax. When people relax, they reveal who they truly are. Real connection begins only after fear disappears. Many relationships fail because both people become actors. They constantly perform. They try to appear more successful, more confident, more perfect than they really are. But pretending requires endless energy. Eventually the mask becomes too heavy. Authenticity supported by self-respect is much stronger than perfection supported by insecurity. Machiavelli often observed that appearances influence people, but appearances alone never survive the test of time. Reality always reveals itself eventually. If your confidence is built only on pretending, one difficult moment will expose it. But if your confidence comes from discipline, purpose, and inner stability, no difficult conversation can easily shake it. Discipline may be the least romantic quality, yet it quietly creates the strongest attraction. A disciplined person keeps promises. They respect their schedule. They improve their health. They control their emotions. They avoid unnecessary drama. They think before reacting. Every one of these habits sends a silent message. I can be trusted. Trust is the foundation beneath attraction. Without trust, attraction becomes temporary excitement. With trust, attraction becomes something much deeper. People often ask why some individuals remain unforgettable years after a relationship ends. The answer is rarely physical appearance. Time changes appearance. What remains is emotional memory. People remember how respected they felt. They remember how peaceful they felt. They remember whether they became a better or worse version of themselves during that relationship. If every memory of you includes chaos, jealousy, and emotional dependence, those memories eventually become warnings. If every memory includes strength, kindness, confidence, and growth, those memories become difficult to replace. Comparison begins quietly inside every human mind. When someone meets new people, they naturally compare those experiences with past ones. If your presence represented emotional stability, many future relationships will feel disappointing in comparison. You become the standard without ever asking to be one. This is why becoming unforgettable has very little to do with making someone obsessed. Obsession is unstable. It burns brightly and often disappears just as quickly. Deep attachment grows through consistency. Consistency is less dramatic, but infinitely more powerful. There is another behavior that quietly destroys attraction. Many people become predictable because they stop growing. At the beginning, they are curious. They read books. They develop new skills. They pursue dreams. They have exciting conversations because they are constantly changing. Then comfort arrives. Growth stops. Every conversation becomes identical. Every week looks the same. Their world becomes smaller. Growth creates freshness. A person committed to learning remains interesting because they keep becoming someone new. They bring fresh ideas into conversations. They gain confidence through achievement instead of empty words. Their identity expands instead of shrinking. The greatest competition you will ever face is not another person. It is the older version of yourself. Every improvement increases your value without needing anyone else's approval. Notice something important. None of these principles require manipulation. None require lying. None require pretending not to care. They all begin with becoming stronger inside yourself. When your life becomes meaningful, people notice. When your emotions become stable, people feel safe around you. When your standards become clear, people respect your decisions. When your confidence becomes quiet, people become curious. Real influence always begins within. Those who desperately chase attention often lose respect because they hand over all their power. Those who build themselves first discover something surprising. They rarely need to chase at all. Yet there is one final principle that separates ordinary attraction from unforgettable influence. It is the rare ability to make someone fear losing your presence without ever threatening to leave. It has nothing to do with games, silence, or manipulation. It comes from one mindset that very few people truly understand. That final lesson changes everything, and once you understand it, you will never look at relationships, respect, or personal power in the same way again. They believe the secret is finding the perfect words, the perfect appearance, or the perfect strategy. But the truth is far simpler. The person who becomes unforgettable is the person who never abandons themselves in order to keep someone else. This is where true power begins. Many people slowly disappear inside their relationships. They stop doing the things they once loved. They give up their goals. They neglect their health. They ignore their friends. They sacrifice their dreams, believing this proves devotion. But every sacrifice that destroys your identity also destroys the very qualities that made you attractive in the first place. Imagine meeting someone who is full of ambition, discipline, humor, and confidence. Months later, that same person has become anxious, dependent, and emotionally exhausted because their entire world now revolves around one relationship. They are no longer the person you first admired. Their love became their prison. Machiavelli understood that power is never maintained through dependence. The moment your peace depends entirely on another person's choices, you hand them control over your emotional life. They may never ask for that control, but you quietly give it away yourself. The strongest relationships are built by two complete people, not two incomplete people trying to rescue each other. Your partner should add joy to your life, not become the only reason your life feels meaningful. This changes everything. When your happiness has many roots, no single storm can destroy your peace. You continue learning. You continue improving. You continue laughing. You continue building. You continue living. This quiet stability becomes incredibly attractive because it is so rare. Most people panic when they feel distance. Strong people become observant instead of emotional. They ask themselves one simple question. What does reality actually show me? Not what fear whispers. Not what insecurity imagines. Not what overthinking creates. Reality is often much calmer than the stories our minds invent. One delayed message does not prove rejection. One disagreement does not prove the relationship is ending. One difficult week does not erase months of trust. Emotion exaggerates. Wisdom observes. This difference separates those who constantly suffer from those who remain calm under pressure. Many people unknowingly create the problems they fear most. They fear losing someone. Fear makes them cling. Clinging creates pressure. Pressure creates distance. Distance confirms their fear. The cycle repeats, but someone with emotional discipline breaks this cycle before it even begins. They choose patience over panic. They choose understanding over assumptions. They choose confidence over constant reassurance. This is not because they never feel afraid. It is because they refuse to let fear become their leader. One of the greatest signs of confidence is the ability to walk away from disrespect without needing revenge. Many people waste years trying to prove their value to someone who has already decided not to appreciate it. They argue. They explain. They beg. They hope another conversation will finally change everything. Sometimes it never does. Not every door is meant to open. Not every person is meant to stay. Wisdom knows when effort becomes waste. This lesson is difficult because the human heart loves hope. Hope is beautiful when it inspires growth. Hope becomes dangerous when it traps you inside a situation that continually destroys your self-respect. There comes a moment when silence speaks louder than promises, when actions reveal more than words, when repeated behavior becomes the only answer you need. At that point, confidence quietly steps away. Not with anger, not with insults, not with dramatic speeches, simply with dignity. Walking away is not always about ending a relationship. Sometimes it means walking away from unhealthy habits, walking away from constant overthinking, walking away from the need to be liked by everyone, walking away from the belief that your value depends on another person's opinion. Every time you leave behind something that weakens your character, you become stronger. People often believe confidence is something you gain after success. The opposite is often true. Confidence grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. When you wake up early, even though nobody is watching. When you exercise because your health matters. When you learn a new skill, instead of wasting another evening complaining. When you remain calm during an argument, instead of reacting emotionally. These small victories quietly build an identity. Identity creates confidence. Confidence creates respect. Respect creates attraction. This chain is much stronger than any clever dating technique. There is another truth many never recognize. The person who is addicted to constant validation can never truly enjoy love. Why? Because every compliment feels temporary. Every message needs another message. Every sign of affection needs another sign of affection. Nothing is ever enough because the emptiness exists inside, not outside. No relationship can permanently fill an empty identity. Only purpose can do that. Purpose gives direction. Direction creates discipline. Discipline builds self-respect. Self-respect allows healthy love. Without self-respect, even genuine affection often feels uncertain. This is why your first responsibility is never to make someone else obsessed with you. Your first responsibility is becoming someone you deeply respect. Everything else grows from that foundation. Imagine waking every morning knowing exactly who you are. You no longer compare yourself with everyone you see. You no longer compete for attention. You no longer fear being alone. Because you have become good company for yourself. Loneliness loses its power over those who enjoy their own lives. Ironically, this is also when relationships become healthier. You stop choosing people out of desperation. You begin choosing them out of compatibility. You stop asking, will they complete me? Instead you ask, do our values make us stronger together? That single question changes the quality of every future relationship. Machiavelli believed that people reveal themselves over time. So do not rush. Observe. Listen. Notice patterns instead of promises. Anyone can speak beautifully for a few days. Character is revealed through consistent behavior. Trust consistency more than charm. Trust actions more than emotion. Trust reality more than fantasy. If someone repeatedly respects your time, your boundaries, and your peace, value that. If someone repeatedly creates confusion, dishonesty, and emotional chaos, believe what their actions are teaching you. The greatest mistake is falling in love with potential while ignoring reality. Love the person standing in front of you, not the person you hope they will eventually become. This protects your heart without closing it. There is also a deeper form of attraction that few people ever experience. It comes from admiration. Desire may begin a relationship, Admiration keeps it alive. People admire discipline. They admire courage. They admire honesty. They admire emotional control. They admire people who remain kind without becoming weak. These qualities never go out of style. Beauty changes. Money comes and goes. Status rises and falls. Character remains. Character quietly becomes your reputation. And reputation follows you into every room before you even speak. People feel it. They sense stability. They sense integrity. They sense quiet confidence. None of this requires pretending to be someone you are not. In fact, pretending destroys it. The goal was never to wear a mask. The goal was always to become the kind of person who no longer needs one. If someone becomes deeply attached to you because of manipulation, they will eventually leave when the illusion breaks. If someone becomes attached because of your genuine character, your discipline, your peace, and your purpose, that connection stands on a much stronger foundation. That is the difference between temporary attention and lasting respect. And lasting respect is what gives love the chance to grow into something meaningful. So remember this. Do not spend your life trying to become impossible to lose. Become impossible to replace. Not because you play games. Not because you create jealousy. Not because you make people chase you. But because your presence brings calm instead of chaos. Strength instead of insecurity. Wisdom instead of confusion. Growth instead of stagnation. When you become that person, something remarkable happens. You stop asking, how do I make someone addicted to me? Because you realize the better question was always, how do I build a life so meaningful that anyone who walks beside me feels inspired to become better? That is a kind of influence no trick can create. It cannot be bought. It cannot be faked. It cannot be forced. It is earned through the way you think, the way you act, and the standards you refuse to abandon. And that is the lesson worth remembering. The greatest victory is never controlling another person's heart. The greatest victory is mastering your own. Because once you do, you no longer chase love out of it. You welcome it from a place of strength. And that quiet strength is the one thing the world can never easily forget. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe for more timeless wisdom, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment below with the lesson that changed your thinking the most. Until next time, stay calm, stay disciplined, and keep mastering yourself.